All right, we're going to call to order the regular board meeting for the Cochise County Board of Supervisors. Today is Tuesday, March 25th. We are meeting in the Board of Supervisors hearing room in Bisbee, Arizona. Pursuant to ARS 38431.02H, the public will have physical access to the meeting place 15 minutes prior to the start of the meeting. Any item on this agenda is open for discussion and possible action. We will begin with a prayer.
Yes.
Ms. Gomez.
Holy God, we gather here as members of the board, and we thank you for calling us together. It is our privilege and our responsibility to support, foster, and advance the mission of Cochise County. Enable us to draw upon the wisdom and experience of yesterday as we respond to the questions and concerns of tomorrow. Give us freedom to speak the truth boldly and with kindness. Give us patience to listen openly without prejudice. Give us confidence to discover and explore new possibilities. Give us wisdom to discern what is right and good and just. Give us courage to participate in your ongoing work of creation. Help us to remember that freedom, like faith, needs our attention and our cooperation. Lord, be with us now as we meet to strengthen us, to keep us, to protect us, and to direct us. As we work together today, guide our thoughts and actions to stay focused on what is important and to make good decisions for the betterment of our community. Amen.
Amen. All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right, the order or deletion of any item on this agenda is subject to modification at any time during the meeting. The board may vote to recess into an executive session for the purposes of obtaining legal advice from the board's attorney on any matter listed on the agenda pursuant to ARS 38431.03A and 3, subsection 3. Members of the Cochise County Board of Supervisors will attend either in person or via Microsoft Teams. Members of the public may also attend the meeting via Microsoft Teams or the mobile app. The board may permit public comment during the discussion of any item on this agenda. To speak on any agenda item or during the call to the public, complete and return the speaker request form to the clerk of the board by 9 a.m. on the day of the meeting. Note that some attachments may have been updated after the agenda was published. This means that some presentation material displayed at the board meeting may differ slightly from those attached on the website. We will begin with a roll call. District 1.
Crosby is here.
District 2.
Gomez is here.
District 3, Antonori is here. All supervisors are present and in person. We will begin with a call to the public. We have 8 speakers. Yeah. All right. So the first one up is Sandy Troll. Sandy Troll. Good morning.
Hello, Sandy Trull from Sierra Vista. I just wanted to come in and voice my support of the jail district lawsuit settlement. I'm extremely thankful for the 3 board members and their dedication and commitment to the citizens of Cochise County. Settling the lawsuit is the right thing to do, and I'm so happy with this action. Thank you for following what is right. This election was maladministered, and we are thankful that you are representing your constituents and fighting for what is right. With all the lawfare going on, it takes courage to stand up and fix this election. We appreciate it and can't thank you enough. We fully support you in this settlement, and we are happy with the outcome. Thank you for taking action on our behalf. And I have a quote. Each time a man stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. And that's by Robert Kennedy. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Next up, we have Tamara Birch.
Good morning. Thank you for hearing me. My name is Tamara Birch. I'm a resident of Bisbee, Arizona, and an active voter. Good morning to the Board of Supervisors, Cochise County staff, and all the residents in attendance in this meeting. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My concerns are about the county procedures and conditions involving the current county jail, plus the plans for the new jail. The financial burden to the taxpayers would seem a crucial concern. Today, jail conditions physically as well as psychologically are in trouble. Services and improvements for inmates and staff are sorely needed. The study groups that were offered in the prior to the previous election all over the county and venues allowed input and information exchange between the voters. Voting procedures followed by the state statutes through the recorder's office and the county elections departments were all valid. It was an all special election, all mail-in ballots. They were verified accurately. The inactive voters were noted properly. Now I am profoundly concerned as to the lawsuits at the taxpayer's expense. This includes lawyer fees. Then, of course, a do-over possible election costs. Finally, will this settlement be accepted? Constituents, taxpayers will be impacted by this lawsuit. We must have opportunities like public forums or town halls to engage in civil discourse to discuss the entire process. Supervisors, voters, community stakeholders must all figure in this process. We have the right to participate. We have the right to understand how and why we are being taxed. Thank you. Also, I just wanted to say that your proclamation that is going to be approved probably today for national government is to ensure safety and the well-being of all our residents in this county and to be fiscally frugal with our expenses at the taxpayer's expense. Also, from the last meeting on the 11th concerning the jail, we must consider the categories, utilities, but most of all, location and transportation costs, the existing buildings, the population centers, the site access, judicial functions, the county seat being here. What is best? We already have the site and the utilities here. All right. I appreciate you listening to me, and thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next up we have Randall Limbach. Randall?
Good
there you
morning,
go. He's online.
Supervisors. Thank you very much. Randall Limbach, Sierra Vista. Ditto to what Sandy Troll said. I am very grateful for the three of you for what you've accomplished so far and doing the will of the people. I'm going to be asking for a little more. The jail district, and I'm with emphasis on district, must be dissolved. The Cochise County Board of Supervisors approved it previously, and you can now dissolve it. There are some who believe the district is mandated on grant monies already received. If that's the case, then I would ask that you return that money immediately. You may recall that recently the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade 50 years after the fact. In my opinion, the matter of the jail district tax was knowingly created fraudulently, violating the Arizona Constitution and revised statutes. In the well-known case of the United States versus Throckmorton, the court determined that fraud vitiates everything, and that should apply in this case. The jail district tax was never placed on the ballot as a referendum or initiative, but a question to avoid the constitutional 60% mandate for any adoption of tax increase. We want to drop all references to the word district from the current ballot language. Our sheriff already received about $20 million from the state, $8 million from the Cochise County citizens for the purpose of building a new jail. Now he is requesting what I believe is an unbelievable sum of $90 million for a jail for a tiny population of 120,000. A total of $50 million will provide the sheriff with a state-of-the-art facility appropriate for a community 2 and 3 times our current size. I request that the new election include a short-term bond for no more than $50 million. And I thank you very much for the time.
All right, thank you, sir. Next up, we have Jennifer Lieberts. I hope I said that right. Jennifer, are you online?
She is online. She'll just need to unmute herself.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes. Go ahead,
Okay.
ma'am. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, good morning. My name is Jennifer Lieberts, and I am a resident of McNeil. I've owned a home in Cochise County for 20 years. I'd like to speak with you this morning about Cochise County's animal ordinances. I started building a house in McNeil in February 2020, and after a while, I started living on the property. Right away, I was bothered by dog barking coming from my north neighbor. In an effort to be adult about the situation, I called her and she said to me that she had never had anybody complain about her dog barking. And so, of course, my response to that was, well, you've never had a neighbor this close to you. The conversation was very productive. She agreed to try to work with me. She would try to feed her dogs earlier. And at the time, she told me that she has 13 animals. The neighbor that I'm referring to, her name is Eileen Smith, and ironically, her ranch is called Serenity Ranch. The barking continued. We had another conversation that did not go as well. When I told her that I was going to have to start calling animal control, she said to me, go ahead, call, they are my friends. I also asked for her permit or license number since she was claiming that this was a dog rescue, and she told me to look it up as it was public record. The conversation did not go well. I hung up, and she filed a police report against me and got a restraining order against me because I was not, quote, nice to her on the phone. After I of course had a hearing with her, the restraining order was quashed. And as I went downstairs, she and her friends were waiting out in the parking lot for me. As I walked by them, they said something to the effect of, go ahead and call animal control, nothing will happen. Unfortunately, I have found this statement to be very true. I have called animal control multiple times asking for welfare checks at her property. I am concerned that the dog barking is because the dogs are in distress. Animal control officers evidently go off at 4:30, and so they're having to send sheriffs out to do this. And I've asked for them to return phone calls to me asking, what was the result of this welfare check? Nothing happens. I make up follow-up phone calls, nothing happens. You have probably seen Facebook posts recently about this ranch and about the conditions of one dog in particular that's in her care. This dog is a pit bull and his name is Money. I sent a photo to you this morning of the enclosure that he is current.
Ms. Leibitz, you're out of time. I'll give you 15 more seconds to wrap it up.
Okay. The ordinances are not clear. Cochise County ordinances are not clear. There is no set ordinance that says the number of animals that a person can have. At this point, Mrs. Smith has in excess of 40 dogs on her property.
All right,
I live next to 40 dogs. I have to wear earplugs just to go outside in the afternoon and sit on my property.
All right, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll have someone look into that. Kathleen, that's your department, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
I'll take it on.
All right. All right. Thank you. Next, we have Radford Hyde. Mr. Hyde, you have 3 minutes. Is he online? Yes. Mr. Hyde, unmute, please. You're ready to go. All right, we'll come back to Mr. Hyde. He's evidently having issues with this mute. Bruce Harris. Bruce Harris. Are you online, sir?
I am here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Bruce Harris. I currently live in Whetstone. I actually grew up in Bisbee, and I have no dispute that a new jail is needed. My concern was how this is being funded. I have retired. I am on a fixed income, and any new taxes that are assessed make it difficult, to say the least. Now, I think it's great. I think we do need new facilities, but I would sure like to see it done differently than what was put before the public recently. That's about all I have to say right now. Thank you very much.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. All right, next up, we have Eli Dalton Webb. Mr. Webb, are you in
I'd fix
person?
this problem, sorry.
Is Mr. Webb here? Oh, Mr. Webb. Mr. Webb, you have 3 minutes.
I just wanted to say I'm concerned about the jail construction. I spoke with Sheriff Mark Daniels, and it seemed like it wasn't a priority to allow visitation at this proposed jail being built. I mean, I don't know how much authority Mr. Sheriff has over building the jail, but it's just a real serious concern. There should be a physical letter sent to the clerk of the board along with the sheriff asking details about this jail visitation. I think it's pretty important. In the Bible, Matthew chapter 25, Jesus said, I was in prison and you visited me. So I think it's extremely important that we allow visitation in the jail. The other thing that I wanted to address was the economy. I've talked to two of you guys about the economy. I'd seriously like that to get worked on. I don't think that this county should be ran by the government as far as employment. This Sierra Vista is ran by the feds, pretty much. Bisbee, county government jobs. There doesn't seem to be a real serious economy around here, and I'd like that to change. And then the other concern is that, I mean, it's not necessarily a real bad concern, but that we have 3 Republicans on the Board of Supervisors. I just want to point that out, that I want you guys to be mindful of reaching out to people of other parties. I don't think you guys have necessarily been bad at that, but just wanted to make that aware. I kind of noticed that Republicans go to Republican meetings, Democrats go to Democrat meetings, and there's a pretty big divide. So just kind of rambling on here. I think I'm done. So.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Hyde, did you get the issue fixed? Are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me okay now?
Yep. You got 3 minutes, sir. Go ahead.
Awesome. Sorry, that was my fault on that. Thank you for giving me an opportunity again after I missed the first opportunity. Good morning, supervisors. This is Radford Hyde from Sierra Vista, and I'd like to talk about a couple of things. First is the accuracy in the financial reporting. I look often at the budget demands and expenditures that are attached to some of the district meeting agendas, and it looks like the people who are providing them are not using the currency format for the numbers over in the right column, and it's a little difficult to read. This is a little stupid, simple thing, but it is happening on every single item that gets reported, that if it's 0.50 or if it's 50 cents, it's reported as 0.5 instead of 0.50. If there's no cents, then it's not 0.00, and it's just difficult to read. Anyway, I know it'd be an easy fix, and I hope someone will look at that. Next thing is the elections. I appreciate that you're reviewing the election procedures with regards to the turn-in time for the mail-in ballots. But let's go deeper. Let's talk about the voting machines. For many years, Cochise County successfully used paper ballots and hand counting at precincts. It worked. So why is reverting to a reliable, time-tested method now considered impossible. The public deserves a real discussion about this. Third, regarding the jail district, thank you all for voting to do something about it. I'm not totally enamored with the idea of just placing it back on the ballot without a referendum or an initiative and having the appropriate voter signatures, and that's what I thought I understood that was discussed at the jail district meeting the other day regarding that. Also, I'd like to address what appeared to be a bait and switch on this whole thing. Initially, we were told a new jail, and then after they got the half-cent sales tax approved, they decided that they have $350 million. Let's build the Taj Mahal Justice Complex and all that, and I think everyone might line up to build a jail, but not all this other business. It just can't afford it for the constituents here. And I'd also like to thank you all for listening to your constituents and doing the bidding that the constituents voted you to do. So thank you all, and keep up the good work, and hopefully we'll be able to get this jail thing in the past and done exactly the right way, the way the people are demanding it. Thank you very much.
All right, sir. Thank you. Next up, we have Miss Yvonne Mayer. Are you on Teams, ma'am? Miss Mayer?
She'll need to unmute herself.
Miss Mayer, if you can hit the unmute button, please.
Do they have to hit #3 or something like that?
That's on the phone.
It's on the phone? Okay.
On the phone, they have to hit
Okay.
*6, but this person, Miss Mayer, is on Teams.
Okay.
All right, Miss Mayer, I'm going to give you 10 more seconds. You could resolve it, and then we'll have to have you defer to the next meeting. Laura, is she still there? All right. All right, we'll move on. All right. First, we're going to look at the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 5?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda items 1 through 5.
Second?
We have a motion and seconded on the floor to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. The consent agenda passes 3-0. We will move on next to public hearings. So let me first, all right, we are now going to open the public hearing. We're going to have a discussion on development services. Can I get a motion to move agenda item number 6, please?
I move that we had, I'm sorry, what was the
Agenda 6.
agenda?
Yeah, just a motion to.
I move to motion to adopt item 6. Is that what we're talking
Yep.
about? Yep. Adopt item 6.
Do we
Is that the
read it?
read all thing?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Adopt zoning ordinance 25-06 to rezone tax parcels 117-06-063, 064, 066, 067. I think it should be 074, 075, 076, 077, and 078. District 3 from SR 43, single household residential, one dwelling per 43,000 square feet, to RU4 rural district, one dwelling per 4 acres, pursuant to the application of Paul Prince.
Second. All right, we have a motion is seconded. Okay, Mr. Taylor, floor is yours.
RZ 25-01. The applicant is Paul Prince. The property is located in Sunsites Unit 2. I won't repeat the parcel numbers that Supervisor Gomez just stated. Current zoning is SR 43 RU4 is the requested rezoning district. It falls within growth area D. There are accessory structures on the property. The property owner is requesting participation in the owner builder program to build a residence and accessory structures. Again, the property is located in Sunsites number 2 and Supervisor District number 3. It's an image of the parcel. There are 9 parcels total for about 10 acres. This graphic demonstrates the property's location within Sunsites Unit 2. Sunsites Unit 2 contains approximately 2,000 parcels. The applicant is requesting a rezone to RU4. The dominant zoning district is the single household residential district within Sunsites overall and Sunsites Unit 2 specifically. Some images of the peripheral roads around the property. These would be Yale to the upper left, Palm to the upper right, and Windsor in the center. This is a drone image. The property, this would be viewing east with Cochise Stronghold Road in the foreground. Viewing to the west. You'll see the cutout on the left side there. That's property at the time the application was filed that was owned by another property owner. I believe the applicant has since acquired that property also. And one last image showing the parcel with the current recreational vehicles on the parcel. Section 2.63 of the zoning regulations identifies 15 factors to evaluate rezoning requests. 9 factors apply to this downzone. Staff finds compliance with applicable factors. The requested downzone is compatible with the residential growth pattern. The downzone would also reduce the number of allowed principal dwellings. Factors not in favor would be opposition from nearby property owners. Staff mailed notices, posted the property, and published a legal ad between 14 and 19 February. This is the response received from the property owners. Staff mailed 34 notices to 22 unique property owners within 300 feet, receiving 6 responses in opposition, 3 from owners within the notification area and 3 from outside the notification area. And to note that some of the property owners that responded on marked multiple properties.
I'm sorry, all against?
Some of the responding property owners own multiple properties.
Okay.
That's why there's more demonstrated on the response map. Based on the factors in favor of approval, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of docket RZ 25-01 by a vote of 7-2 during its meeting on March 12, 2025 with the following condition. No manufactured homes, no rehabilitated mobile homes on any portion of the 10 acres. Staff also recommends approval of docket RZ 25-01 with the above condition, the factors in favor of approval constituting the findings of fact. Mr. Chair, members, that concludes staff's presentation of docket RZ 25-01. The applicant is present.
Any questions for Matthew and Tom?
No, sir.
I just got one. So I noticed this one has the mobile manufactured home exclusion on it that wasn't in the previous one that we had the issue with. Do the neighbors still oppose of the zoning change with the exclusion of the mobile home manufactured home?
Mr. Chair, the modification, including that condition at the commission meeting, was made after the public hearing, following public input. So we have several members of the community in the room, so I think we'll find out their thoughts on this condition.
I got them right here. All right, we'll hang tight then, sir, and let's go to the public comments. So first up, we have Mickey Shields.
I'll be the first to answer your question, Mr. Antonori. Sure. Yes, we still are opposed to this. Okay. From all the opposition letters that you received, and that's all the letters that were received, you know what the atmosphere is in our area, I mean, all the attributes. One of them is the site-built homes, which is what we want to have continue. The applicant indicated on his application that he wants RU4 zoning, to have a decrease in building density and also to take advantage of the owner-builder opt-out, which can be done with the SR 174 zoning. Later, at the planning and zoning, we found out that he wanted to have his accessory buildings larger than his home. And that's fine. I don't have any objection with that, but do that within the confines of an SR zoning. At that hearing, the variance was brought up, and Mr. Taylor indicated that it might be difficult to show a hardship in order to have a variance. But I asked, should it not be equally as difficult to plop down an RU4 zoning in the middle of properties which are zoned RU43 and also properties that were purposely downzoned to 174. We did the downzoning to 174, myself and others, strictly to prohibit now and in the future the ability for someone to bring in a manufactured home. And then with regards to the conditions that were brought forth at the planning and zoning, who would enforce those conditions? I know someone that day said, well, the county would, but with all due respect, I'm not sure that would happen because currently the county is only made aware of zoning violations if a citizen complains. And I myself know of 2 instances in Sunsites, and sure it hasn't been in the last couple of years, but where a zoning regulation and or deed restrictions were violated. And unfortunately, the county turned a blind eye to this because the homes were already purchased and at the site where they were going to be installed. And so, you know, those homes that are against the zoning are still there. The inclusion of RU4 in this area, I feel, would not only be a slippery slope, but it would be opening Pandora's box. So I encourage you to vote no on this zoning change and work on an equitable solution within the SR zoning. And there is time to get this done. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Next up is John Seberg. Are you on team, sir? Mr. Seberg.
Yeah, could you hear me?
There you go. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Well, this is good timing. I'm Mickey Shields' neighbor across the street. My folks have bought the property out there back in '87. I do believe I'm the oldest resident, or at least my family is the oldest resident in the area. At that time, back in '87, in that square mile that we live in, there was no other home except the Seberg home. And I couldn't back Mickey more. We've all come to the conclusion that an SR, let me see here, an SR 43 or an SR 174, I think would be appropriate, and to keep it in that direction. As far as like opening up Pandora's box, I do believe that's exactly what we'd be doing. This is pristine property right up against the Coronado National Forest. And I know that was what tempted my mom and dad to buy in that direction, a home that was built in 1968 by a Tucson builder when the Horizon Corporation was trying to get underway things in Pierce Sunsites. I really believe, I know I'm in the Chicagoland area right now, and in this area, variances are very common. They use these things to make both parties happy. And I'm sure that a variance could be had with an SR 43 or an SR 174 to keep everybody happy. I think you'll find that the 6 letters that you have there are all in response to say no to this. And there's no reason for an RU4 when you can make some modifications to the SR zonings and make everybody happy. It sounds like a no-brainer to me, and that's, I think, what we need to do. You want to keep the tax base where it's at, and the tax base with site-built homes will be a better tax base down the road and will be more attractive to people coming into the area to want to build a site-built home, and that will improve the tax base out there. I don't think that Cochise County wants to disregard a good tax base. I think that'd be going in the wrong direction as far as income for the county. So I don't know what more to say. I just believe that this would be a mistake and really opening up a can of worms, and I don't think that's necessary. I think modifications, or as I know it here in Cook County, variances would be the way to do things. And but keep the SR qualifications intact. I thank you very much, and thanks for hearing me out.
So, Matthew, can you refresh my memory. All right. So the SR 174, the rule with that is you can't build the auxiliary structures before you build the house. And with RU4, you can build the auxiliary structures before you can build the house. Correct? Is that the?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. And the other element to that too is the RU4 would allow accessory structures that exceed the size of the principal residence also. So there's two accessory structure considerations for these applications, which has led the applicant to request RU4.
So did Mr. Prince submit a building permit to build a house with this?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Prince, his application for a building permit is pending today's action.
So, I mean, so the rules, again, I see all the RVs on the property. There's what? There's two there, plus a tractor trailer and a couple other sheds and whatnot there. So, refresh me on the RV piece with regard to being able to put the RVs and live on the property without the building permit. I thought you had to have the building permit to be able to live on the property in the RV. Otherwise, it's camping, right?
Correct, Mr. Chairman. So an RV would not be permissible as a residence within the SR district. However, a rezone to RU4, the applicant could apply for an opt-out permit and a concurrent permit to live in an RV until that residence was completed.
And so the question again is, he's got RVs on the property without a building permit. Sir, I'll get to you in a minute. We'll get to you. So he's got RVs on the property without a building permit.
Yes, sir. There's an active code compliance case because of that.
May I ask you a question?
Sure. Let's go.
You know, it seems like this is something that comes up almost every meeting where we have this issue of, you know, rezoning to RU4 in the specific area. I'm getting somewhat perplexed by it because, and tell me if I'm wrong, people are coming in, it's zoned for a very specific purpose to have a certain environment. And then if you come in and buy property and you ask for a rezoning to an RU4, that changes the whole dynamic of the area, right?
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Gomez, we do see a lot of requests for downzoning specifically for the owner builder program. Sunsites is no exception. I think we've done well over 20 in Sunsites alone.
It just seems like maybe that there's something we need to look at as far as maybe there's a zoning area for.
So what happened was years ago, someone had bought a lot of these properties and subdivided them to put subdivisions in. So they're like 1 acre lots and 2 acre lots, which is below the RU4, which requires 4 acres.
Okay.
And then subsequently, a lot of them have quit paying their property taxes. So people go and they get the tax lien and they get a good deal on the property and they get like 6 or 7 of them together and then they bundle them basically and then try to get the RU4 because they have, in this case, this guy's got 10 acres, right? He's got 10 acres and he's combined those lots. The problem is the other neighbors have bought properties under the original zoning and have site-built homes under the SR zoning.
Right.
And now people that go and buy these individual SR lots, combine them together, and they're asking us to basically modify the zoning so that they could do the opt-out, builder opt-out, which is creating, again, the confusion in the opt-out community that there's an opposition to us and having people the right to go build, on RU4. The problem, again, as you so allude to, is that people are buying SR zone properties. The neighbors own SR owned properties, and then they're asking us to convert it to RU4 so they could do the opt-out. When, again, you have to balance the...
And I think this might be something we need to look at because I had a meeting with the opt-out community who understand, I don't know if we can take an area and say, okay, this is going to be all opt-out, or if that's a solution or what. But I know that June is like the opt-out community month. They want to come and ask us to proclaim that. I think we need to start having a discussion because this just seems, I understand both sides, but it's pretty problematic because it does change the whole, the environment, the whole reason why you're buying or why you bought into a community. You have a certain view, you're buying that, and then now we're asked to change it. And I guess I'm just wondering, the planning and zoning voted for this to be changed over to RU4, right?
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Gomez, the Planning and Zoning Commission did vote 7-2 with the condition. I would like to note that there were 2 dissenting votes. The concerns expressed by those commissioners were, 1, a rezone to a rural district and a single household residential district. And number 2 was the long-term enforcement of special conditions by the county, how reliable a process that is.
And I do agree. I mean, we do only react. We're not, going out there and making sure that everyone is doing it. We only do it if there's a complaint, and we only have one code person who does that, right? So it's very difficult to enforce, I would think. I don't like to go against the Planning and Zoning Board.
Yeah. Well, we got several more speakers. Let's hear some more folks, and then we'll get to that. All right. Next up, we have Linda Sue Blake. Miss Blake. All right, you got 3 minutes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Linda Blake, and I'm here once again to express mine and my husband's opposition to the RU4 zoning requested by Mr. Prince. This opposition, it is in no way anything personal against Mr. Prince. My husband and I worked with a realtor for 3 years looking for a place in Southeast Arizona, and once we saw the property we live on, it was just very surreal and something that we very much desired and desire to preserve it the way it is. We've always taken great pride in our home, our outbuildings, and should not have to struggle to maintain our home value. If time travel were possible, I would love for us all to load up and go down to Richland, which is approximately 10 miles north of the area where we live, and see firsthand what a blanket RU4 zoning can do to an area and what blighted housing looks like due to that type of zoning. Mr. Antonori spoke at last month's Sunsites Community Association meeting and gave a very compelling speech listing a plethora of reasons why RU4 zoning is not good for it's not a good thing for anyone. Regardless of the contingencies or exceptions or who's going to monitor to make sure that they're being adhered to. And approving this request is just going to encourage others to follow suit. And like you said, this is my second time here. It happened, the gentleman that we voted down in January is once again on the board to go back to RU4. I just strongly and respectfully urge the board to oppose this request. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Since you brought up, I want to clarify what I said at the meeting. So RU4 zoning where people buy 40-acre parcels or 10-acre parcels that are already set up as RU4, if they want to go do the opt-out, and they have the freedom to do that. I have no opposition to that as far as the RU4 opt-out program. My concern was you have people that have invested a significant amount of money in a site-built residential home on something that's zoned residential. And then because of the tax situation out there and the ability to buy subsequent small parcels and then bundle them together, they try to rezone to the RU4, which isn't fair to the people that have already purchased homes under the notion that they are in a zoned residential neighborhood. That was my issue with the...
Right, and I understand we downzone from SR 43 to SR 174 to take advantage of the owner-builder.
Right, but it's still zoned residential versus rural,
Absolutely.
which is the point I was just trying to make. There is a very significant line between those two zoning requirements. All right, ma'am, thank you. Next up, we have Sue K. Wrigley. Is she on Teams, Ms. Wrigley?
Hello?
Yes, there you go, ma'am. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. Yes, I'm a speaker today in opposition to the changes in zoning. I own 2 properties and 2 homes that are each located approximately 1/2 mile from the property in question. I'm not opposed to Mr. Prince's projects. However, I am opposed to an actual change in the zoning from the long-standing SR 43, which is the zoning that has existed for several decades, to an RU4. It is my understanding that such a change could eventually lead to less desirable housing, such as mobile homes, that would likely decrease the value of all our properties. And yes, I also am very familiar with the Richland area, and it is quite different than the area that is in question. And that's all.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Next up, we have A.J. Hudson. Adrian, sir, you got 3 minutes.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm one of the residents nearby, and those of us who've invested our life savings in many cases, we did it right. We bought in the zoning that was appropriate for our plan, and we had our building plan to fit that zoning need. Paul lives here 6 months out of the year and wants to build a 600-foot home. He wants the 10 acres to graze his horses on while he's here. It's my understanding that Jeff, who was voted down a month ago for RU4 change, has been coached to reapply. There's now 17 lots at risk if RU4 zoning is approved that could someday have buildings that would hurt our property values and deteriorate the view that we have and the reason we bought here to begin with. This is an exceptional place, folks. If on the entire east side of the Dragoon Mountain Range, this is where you would want to be if you were going to invest your life savings in a single family home. It's where you want to be. And it would be a shame for that to go away. Richland Estates was mentioned. It's an example of what can happen. RU4 zoning, a few trailers moved in. Now many mobile homes are there. Many of them are old and not in good shape. Some have been abandoned. Windows broke. All of those things are at risk here. This zoning change would have long-term consequences. And so as much as I enjoy seeing horses, and to Paul, I would say if I could hand walk through the paperwork to get something done that would allow him to do what he wants to do without the change of zoning, I would volunteer my time to do that. But the RU4 zoning change has consequences, and those consequences are going to hurt those of us who are already here. We're already invested. We've got our life savings in we go to the meetings for water and ranching and farming and all of that. We pay attention. We know we're in a special place. It needs to stay that way. Those who put the zoning in place as it is years ago in the beginning made a wise decision. It needs to stay that way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we have Ken and Kathy Pohl. I guess one of you guys gets to talk. You're on the computer. You have 3 minutes. Are you there? Kathy or Ken?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go, sir. You have 3 minutes.
Yep. Okay, thank you. This is Ken and Kathy Pohl. We're Canadians, and we only live there 6 months of the year. We consider it to be heaven. We oppose the rezoning of this property to R4. Our concerns stem from the fact that this land is situated in the scenic foothills of the Dragoon Mountains, offering absolutely breathtaking views of both the mountains and the valley. Lowering this zoning designation to R4 allows everything that you've heard from everybody else, allows for rebuilt mobile homes and manufactured homes to move in. This would negatively impact property values and the community as a whole, especially for those of us who have invested significantly in properties developed under the strict RS-43 zoning regulations. We believe that it is critical to preserve the quality and development of the Dragoon Mountain region. Can the county not amend zoning bylaws to establish an R4 district that does not allow rebuilt mobile and manufactured homes so that we are not continually having to contest rezoning requests? This is the second time in 2 months that members of this community are having to attend these meetings to voice our dissent. If this is possible, we feel that any rezoning to R4 be put on hold until such an amendment is completed. We see issues with R4 zoning in this property subject to the condition that the current landowners will not install manufactured homes. Does this apply to future owners? What happens if parcel is subdivided and sold? Will this have R4 zoning, or will the new owner be able to put on whatever he wants? And how will this condition be enforced? Current infractions of zoning bylaws are numerous in Sunsight's area. We see it every time we come back there, only investigated if reported to the county. Often this would be a neighbor, which pits neighbors against neighbors and friends against friends. We feel that the county needs to take a stronger stand on this issue. I would like to finish with another question. We can see the property, Paul's Place, from our living room window. Why were we not involved in the rezone request? Your 300-foot perimeter needs to be revisited in these rural settings. Also wondering about the process of rezoning. How is it possible that a landowner resubmit for R4 when he has already been turned down for a downgrade to R4?
All right, sir, your 3 minutes are up. I appreciate your time.
I just like to say one more thing, please. If I would have wanted to live in an RV park, that is where I would have looked. That's not what I did. I looked where we are.
All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Next, we're going to go to Kevin Todd. Mr. Todd, are you online, sir?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. You got 3 minutes.
Okay. Thanks for having me speak. I just wanted to say to Mr. Antonori, you seem to have a very good grasp and understanding of the dynamics in play here, and I just want to thank you for taking the time to dig into it a little bit. And Supervisor Gomez, I also appreciate, you've got an empathetic desire to understand us here, and that goes a long way. So we feel that, and we hear that, and we appreciate that. A lot of the points that have been brought up by my neighbors here today are right in line with how I feel. Everything that I really wanted to say has been said, so I'll just kind of retouch on a couple of points. So the main thing is that what we talked about, yeah, this seems like deja vu, but it's going to be deja vu all over again, because next month, guess what? We get Jeff Thied for his second RU4 rezone attempt. Okay, so this is going to be Jeff's, actually his third application, and then add Paul's to the mix. So we are playing RU4 whack-a-mole over here, and we're getting tired of it. And so what I would say, the main points is the slippery slope. If we miss this one, you're going to have more people coming in here for the same purposes, and with a 300-foot notice radius, one of these times we're not going to see it, we're not going to hear it, we're not going to know that it's happening, and someone will get one wedged in, and they will put a mobile home, and they will put, or a manufactured, and there starts the decline. So the two things I really want to hammer on, I asked this in P&Z, and I will volunteer here to be on a committee or an advocacy group of some sort, if need be, to work with the county to come up with some sort of amendment to SR 174 so that we can all be happy in the scope of these folks adhering to SR site-built zoning, yet also, if we are achieving the county's objective of reducing the density here, say somebody gets a few lots together and they are successful in SR 174 downgrade, then that should be the incentive to give them the bigger buildings, and or to, if they've got a home permit into the county, that they can build their accessory buildings first. These are the kinds of discussions that I think we need to have, because we're sort of beating a dead horse as to why we're in opposition here. Let's move forward and take another step and figure out how we can actually get something done outside of RU4. That's all I want to say. Thanks for listening.
All right, thanks, sir. Is Mr. Prince here? Oh, there he is, Mr. Prince. Mr. Prince, I'm going to give you 3 minutes if you want to make a comment. Do you want to make a comment?
Yes, Honor. I'd like to make a comment. Hello. You were talking about the SUV, the homes on my property. Those are horse trailers. I wanted to clarify that up for you because I store hay in them because I don't like the rats to have my hay. There is my RV that I'm living in, and there is also a motorhome park there that my friends that I'm training their horse for brought it. They come and stay a couple days a week sometimes. The one comment you made about us coming in and buying cheap land for the foreclosures, there's a point the county might want to consider. Is the land may be cheap, and it's not so cheap. Some of these are in arrears up to $2,000. Then you pay a lawyer $2,500, and it takes a year or 2 years or 3 years to get a new deed. There have been a few suggestions made to the county today, and I would make one, is when a property is in arrears for 5 years, why don't you just auction it off? Then you would get the tax revenue right away. The person would get a deed and start to build and enhance the community. I think I was slammed a little bit because I only live here 6 months of the year, but I love this place. I spend money here, and I bring people here that spend money here in your county. Comments were made by a gentleman here today who hasn't lived in the county since pre-COVID, but has lots to say. I think I have just as much right to say because I'm here 6 months every year, and I contribute to this county, and I love it here. I'm only applying for RU4 because it's the only option I have to build a multi-use building rather than have a bunch of little shacks or sea cans, which I hate the look of sea cans on good property, and there seems to be quite a few around me. I want to build a multi-use building to house my horses, my feed, and a little shop. So what if I just want a 600 square foot house? I should still be able to have a shop. So I would appreciate if the county, as been mentioned a few times here, would revisit this and facilitate us instead of pitting neighbors against neighbors and creating hard feelings where there shouldn't be any. Thank you. Any questions you have for me, I'd be glad to answer.
Yeah, I got a couple questions for you. So the 600 square foot house, is that going to be on a slab and then 2x4s? And
I mentioned last time I was here, the other committee, because that question was asked then. I plan on building a Mexican-style house with 2x6 walls and a stucco finish that blends in with the community and the environment. I have no use for a mobile home. It just so happens that the only classification you have that works for me with having an extra size a building larger than my residence, being able to do what I want to do, opt out, and do my thing and not bother anybody else, puts me in that box, puts me against my neighbors. Maybe my neighbors aren't all my cup of tea. Maybe I'm not their cup of tea, but at least we were getting along before this came along.
Anybody else got any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Crosby.
Mr. Prince, do the horse trailers that you mentioned, do they have any accommodations in them for people?
No.
Okay.
I store hay and tack because they're well sealed. I have a problem with rats. The second year I got here, I didn't unload all my tack out of my trailer, and the rats got 5 of my best bridles in a matter of 3 days.
Okay. That's all the questions I had for Mr. Prince. I was going to ask Matthew a couple questions. What is the nature of the pending code violations at this time?
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Crosby, the pending code violations involve occupancy of a recreational vehicle.
Okay.
As well as, I believe, unpermitted structures. So I believe there were some structures on the property that do require a building permit.
That are over the 200
Correct.
square foot.
The only building that I have is a tack shed, and it's 160 square feet, and it's on skids.
All right, sir. Thanks.
Mr. Taylor, Can you tell me the two dissenting votes, were they in District 3?
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Gomez, the two dissenting votes from the Planning and Zoning Commission were representatives of District 1.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Gomez.
I see this as a real problem in the making, and I think we do need to create a task force or a work session or some kind of committee that can look at these problems, because there seems that there is a compromise, but it's like, there, but we can't grab onto it because we don't have any policy for it. Because I see both sides, and it's just a real dilemma because there has to be a compromise in there, and maybe it's revisiting the policies or the zonings that we have, and maybe it's creating a new policy, because the opt-out community did come to me and say something about they think that there has to be a second policy that deals with these kinds of situations. And I just think this is going to be recurring every month. So I don't know what we can do, but I do definitely think we need to have a committee of both sides, and this seems to be happening in this particular area. And I just think that, as in all things, when things are established, times change. I know that there is a big push for RU4, but I also understand people who have invested their money because of the view, and that's why I came back from New York City, because this is a unique place. So we have to find some compromise in which we can help everyone. I mean, maybe we're not all going to be happy, but at least if we have a conversation, maybe we can come to some solution.
I have another question.
Mr. Crosby.
Matthew, what was the nature of the variance that was mentioned as an option?
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Crosby, if the applicant had proceeded with SR 174, it was still intended to build a multi-purpose building that was larger than his residence. There is the option of applying for a variance to allow a structure larger than the residence. That was the nature of the comment made relative to the variance itself. I'd also like to add, too, that the staff has in the past recommended conditions prohibiting manufactured housing as a stopgap measure to try to resolve the concerns of neighbors. So we have done that in the past with RU4 zoning. It's not the preferred approach, of course. We did have a comment from perhaps more than one of our commissioners asking staff to revisit that and potentially even have a work session with the commission to discuss some alternatives as opposed to having these conditional down zones, which are pretty atypical, to look at the zoning regulations to see if there were any opportunities for us to prevent this from reoccurring, this down zone to RU4 as opposed to the SR 174.
I think we're going to need to have a
Absolutely.
zoning change discussion instead of work session for this, because look at that right there, right?
Right.
All those little parcels. And if you go on the tax lien website, you will see that like almost half of them are in arrears for taxes. And I've done exactly that. I've bought tax liens and I've done the foreclosure and then resold property, right? And I have a couple of friends that buy those properties, bundle them together, and then resell them. But we don't rezone them. We just sell them to somebody else. And it's a practice that's very lucrative, let's just say, because you get the property for a fraction of what the value of it is, and then you could resell it for the value of the property. But they don't have value when they're in the small acreage. People don't want to buy them when they're 1 acre parcels. So the only time you can get them marketable is when you get them to 5 acres or 10 acres or something where now someone gets a nice chunk of land. The problem that I struggle with, and I said it last time, in the words of Thomas Jefferson, and I remember this phrase all the time: my liberty ends where your nose begins. You have your rights, I have my rights. The point where government has to intervene is the point where those two rights collide and the balance between those rights. My frustration is caveat emptor, buyer beware. You buy the property knowing it's zoned residential. The neighbors have already put significant investment in putting up housing. Again, I just looked at all the satellite imagery again, and I go out there because I hunt out in that area, and I drive through there quite a bit. There are a lot of site-built homes out there. Some of them are really, really nice site-built homes. The challenge is what of those people that have already, I'll let you speak one more time, sir. Hang on. So what are those people who have already invested a significant amount of money? They have large homes and then they have a couple smaller buildings because they're complying with the current zoning regulations that are out there. And they followed the zoning rules when they built their house. And some of them put, $500,000 probably or more now in some of those houses out there. I mean, I've seen them. There's some really, really nice houses. And this opt-out thing is really getting a lot of attention, and I got a lot of people moving into Cochise County because they say, hey, you get 4 acres or more, you could do whatever you want, build your own house, you could put up, all these earth bags and hay bale buildings, and it's really cool. And I get that. That's fine. But buy the RU4 property. Buy something that's already zoned RU4, and you're free to build all of your domes and earth bags and whatever unique opt-out stuff you want to go do. Where we are having a clash now is this phenomenon that's occurring mainly in the Pierce Sunside area with these previously subdivisions that were planned that went down and defunct. And
That
now,
was the golf course, right?
yep, all of that out there. So now there's an opportunity for people to come in and buy those tax liens and then combine these lots to get to this 4-acre threshold so that they can then request the downsize. That's nice for somebody that thinks that, hey, I got this opportunity to go do this. It's nice because it does take the property tax off of the tax liens out of arrears and puts them back on the property tax book, so there's property taxes being paid. But the difference is this. You look at some of the pictures on here, these are 1,500 to 2,500 to one of the houses looks like it's like a 3,500 square foot house. There's a significant property value for those people that have houses that are 2,500 and 3,000 square foot. And the county does get the tax revenue from them as well. And then there's a difference putting a smaller house or a mobile home or even a 600 square foot house on the property that I could see some of the neighbors saying, hey, look, this is taken away and going to impact the property value because now this is going to become sort of a rural area where you're free to put all sorts of stuff and whatnot on the property. If you look at the pictures and the satellite imagery, I mean, it is a stark difference. And you can see it in these photos, right? Between the houses that are out there and then
Yeah.
Mr. Prince's sort of area there. So again, I gotta look at the balance here to protect the rights of the people that have invested a significant amount of money in their properties, and the fact that they bought in knowing into an SR area, thinking that was going to protect them, and now we're rezoning it to rural, and that creates a problem. Mr. Crosby.
Are we talking about potentially also doing business like horse training on Mr. Prince's property?
Mr. Prince, can you come back? Can you come back up to the microphone, please?
Your question first?
Yeah. Do you intend to do business as?
No, I don't.
Trainer?
I bring a horse in. I have a couple of horses. I sometimes take one horse to train. Right. There's dynamics. When I come from Canada to here with a horse, I have to pay over $500 in vetting. If I come here and ride a horse from here, I don't have to pay that vetting. So I do a trade-off. I'll ride your horse and I'll train it for you.
Okay.
I don't have to pay, and you pay the feed, so I'm not paying the feed and I'm not paying the vetting, and I'm getting your horse to ride.
Okay. Thank you very much. But you do want to engage in horse training activity of some kind?
No, sorry, I'm 72 years old. I'm not expanding my horse training. I just want to ride the mountains.
Okay.
So
you're not training other people's houses or horses that are coming and going with their horses?
No.
Let's see. And when we talked about the pending code violation, and we talked about what the terms that were used by some of the people in oppositions was Pandora's box, can of worms, slippery slope. So we also when I asked Matthew about the variance we talked about another option to this, if I'm not mistaken, is SR 174 with a variance. Is that correct?
Sure.
Okay. So does zoning SR 174 with a variance make everybody happy? Or
If you're asking me, if I'm understanding you, if I can have the same rights in the R74 as I get in the 174 as I get in the RU4 without the mobile home, I'm jumping in both feet.
Okay, I'm wondering about everybody that is in opposition to the zoning change that is before us. If the zoning change was SR 174 with a variance, would that make everybody in opposition happy?
I don't want to speak for all my neighbors as this has put a rift between us.
Yeah,
I do believe it would from the ones that I've talked to.
I think the difference is the 174, the house has to be bigger than all the other buildings.
Yeah.
On the 174, he wants to put up a barn
So
and a
that
shop.
would be the variance.
That would be a huge building, and he's only going to build a 600 square foot house. So what's the square footage of the building, the multi building?
Just to clarify, my 600 square foot house is not much different than my two neighbors who have a 500 square foot house or one that's probably about 650. So it's not like I'm the only little puppet in the neighborhood.
Is your house attached to the bigger building or not?
No,
So it's separate.
that's not my plan.
So what was the square footage of the other building?
The other building would probably be something like 1,250 to 1,500. And yes, I would be happy to take the 174 with that variance. The other comment that I might make is you were saying that I was wanting to come in and change the zoning. Yes, because before I ever spent a dime, I came to the county and I said, if I buy up these tax parcels and get a number of them together, can I put them under one title or deed and build? Oh, yes, you can do the opt-out program. You can get rezoned. We're all in favor of that. It lowers the population density, and we're all in favor of that. So that's when I spent my first dime. I didn't come in here to change the whole thing. I asked questions first.
Mr. Chair, there was Ms. Nikki Shields, I believe, that had her hand up when I was asking, would everybody be happy with SR 174 with a variance?
You can bring her back up? You want to bring her back up? All right, Ms. Shields, you come on back up.
I hesitate to speak for everybody, but I will because we've all
Speak
talked.
for yourself and we'll make
No, because we've all talked about it. And our big thing is to keep the SR zoning because then that way, today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, a mobile or manufactured home will not come into the area. So I know Mr. Prince has got the 10 acres and from my understanding, he wants to have 2 5-acre parcels. So 2 different parcels. The one is going to be used as pasture. Let's say 5 years from now, God forbid he's gone and it gets sold. If an RU4 zoning, someone else can put a manufactured home in there. But with an SR 174, that would be protected. So that is our big push. We want to stick with the site-built zoning, which in this case would be an SR 174.
And that was going to be my next question. What happens down the road? Mr. Prince, I hope you live forever, but, you know, probably you're 72 and it gets sold. That is an issue that would be, you know, problematic because it is zoned as RU4. So you're going back. Is it possible to vote for the variance?
You know, I don't see an option in this agenda item to amend the agenda item. Sometimes it does. It's something we've seen that option to amend the agenda item.
I think there's more discussion that would have to occur before we could even talk about putting the variance together. I mean, at the least, maybe table this for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then set up a meeting in between to have the discussion on what that might look like. Again, I just looked at the satellite imagery, and I have my Onyx hunt maps that I love so well, And it's probably a couple years old, but I'm looking, there is a neighbor and there's a picture of him here. It looks like the neighbor, I don't know if you could see it on the one, looks like an RV parked next to a portable shed right next door to him. I think that's what he's referring to, right? Which is also a violation, ordinance violation, right? So.
And there's an active case on that.
There's an active case on that one too. So, I mean, we have two things at play here. We have ordinance violations that are probably not resourced because of resources. We'll give the benefit of the doubt being aggressively dealt with. And then we also have, as Mr. Prince alluded, when he goes and he buys the property, someone is conveying that this is like a done deal, and they're not explaining the complete sort of process that is required. And then this is a special area that has this problem too,
Right.
as we've seen. So I do think we're going to need to have a work session to discuss changing the ordinance and the zoning definitions to keep this from happening. Matthew, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to clarify on the variance issue. That would fall under the purview of the Board of Adjustment. So that would require a separate public hearing. Number two, it's not strictly a code compliance issue when it comes to the mobile homes. If the board were to approve the zoning conditionally prohibiting manufactured housing, we would flag that in our system. It wouldn't be based on a complaint.
Okay.
We would know that if someone were to apply for a placement permit, for example, our system would already have that condition as being prohibited. So we would know. It wouldn't take someone to complain about it.
Yeah, but I mean, there could be an election in 4 years. You could have two new board members on the board right here, and the next thing they do is they go, okay, we're good with that, and the world changes with a sweep of the pen. So I mean, this is a struggle for me because again, I got to respect the property rights of property owners. To include Mr. Prince's property rights, but people buy property under condition and then they comply with that condition, and then somebody buys property and wants to change the condition. So that's the heartburn. That's the issue. So
It does seem that there's a gap though in our zoning or in our policy that we just definitely need to look at.
I'm trying to think of what we can do.
One of the factors that we had last time we looked at issue very close to this was, is the person who says they're going to do A, B, and C really going to do A, B, and C?
Yeah.
Okay. And I hate to think that they're not. They have their intentions, and I hope that they do their intentions. So now there's still the part about the pending code violations, which if we're going to be serious about ourselves and serious about all these issues, we've got to do something about those. If we're going to either enforce it or cause enforcement, then we've got to do it. And then from what I understand, this is my impression, that even if it has to go to the Board of Adjustments, the way to go, what I understand, is everybody would be happy with SR 174 with the variance to allow a bigger accessory building than the home, than the dwelling, whatever you want to call it.
See, there's this map here
Yeah.
that's got the Sunsites 2 on it. The vast majority of the properties inside there are zoned SR 174 or SR 43. There's one square section there, a big square section that's RU4. But again, those parcels were already bigger parcels to begin with.
Page number 5, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Yes, page number 5. All right. So, and then if you look at the neighboring section, it's the same story. All these little half-acre and 1-acre parcels. And then if you go out there, you'll see some nice houses built intermittently out there as well. Most of the houses out there, I mean, they're not mansions or palaceal estates, but they're your average, I would say, 1,500 square foot house, 1,200, 1,300 square foot house out there. So that's the struggle I got, is you have people that, have bought, like, and I've been out there. I went out there with, what was the guy we did the last one out? What was his name? Kevin?
Jeff Beatty?
Thede. I went out to his place and I walked around with him out there, and I'm like going, look, you look at these houses out here, and you got, they can see your house from all these different areas. You got the mountains there. People spend a lot of money to build a house so they can look out their window at that postcard, out there. So it's a balance, right? You gotta weigh the investment that these people have already made in their houses, plus you got to weigh the rights of you to do what you want with the property you bought and what you think you can do on. But unfortunately, that's where we come in. That's where government has to provide that balance. So, yeah, Mr.
Well,
Crowe.
it sounds like the next step is the Board of Adjustments. Is that where this would go if we want to say we want a variance? 174 with a variance goes to the Board of Adjustments. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, if I may. Christine McLaughlin with the Planning and Zoning Development Services is here. She works with the Board of Adjustment. She may be able to answer some of your questions.
Go ahead.
The Board of Adjustment is another appointed board similar to the Planning and Zoning Commission. They do rule specifically on variance cases. They are subject to review and approval by the Board of Adjustment. So it's a separate application, a separate public hearing that would have to go before them. Typically, they have, in a rezoning, there are factors for and against a rezoning. There are factors for and against a special use. There are factors for and against a variance. And with variance, it's typically there's peculiar conditions present. There's something that prevents the property owner that's not self-imposed to comply with the zoning regulations. And it's typically the burden's on the property owner to prove that.
Okay, so if I understand you, what you're saying is it is not the self-imposed issue for Mr. Prince is that he wants to build an outbuilding bigger than his dwelling.
Right.
And so what effect does that have on what the...
It's a factor against.
It's a factor against, okay. But it doesn't destroy the possibility. It's just putting it towards that's the body that makes this decision, and then it comes back to the board of supervisors, and we say it doesn't.
No, an appeal would go to civil, the courts.
Okay.
From the Board of Adjustment.
You
hear appeals from planning.
Chair, what would you want to do with regard to a work session and the Board of Adjustments?
I think we table this. We schedule a work session. We bring the planning and zoning guys in, and you start looking at a potential zoning definition change. The other thing I look at, no offense, but 600 square feet is awful small for this area out here too. And I think that's the crux of it, right? Because what's going to happen is people are going to build these small houses, and then they're going to build a whole bunch of bigger outbuildings out there, and that's going to impact the area as well. So I mean, we got to figure this out. This is going to be coming up a lot because the people are buying these lots up, including myself and a few other people I know. So that's going to be, I think, an issue here in the future. They're all zoned residential. And when you bundle them, you still have them, 10 acres, 15, 20 acres that are still residential, SR residential, right? And then the word gets out, you watch all the YouTube videos because, I watch them too, the tiny, shiny guys right down the road there, and it's really entertaining, and it's all this cool freedom, yay, Cochise County, freest county in the world. But yeah, your freedom also, you got to consider other people's freedom who've already built houses there, and they've invested a lot of time and money into those properties as well. And just like we have like in certain parts of Sierra Vista and parts of Wilcox, and there's zoning limitations to protect neighboring properties from people doing crazy stuff with their property.
Chairman, is it all right?
Mr.
Sorry.
Mr. Cribb.
If I might. I've worked with planning and zoning or development services, and I think it'll take a little bit of time for us to pull everything together. So I propose that we table this for not 2 weeks, but 4.
4 weeks?
And then
Okay.
we can fit a work session, and we've got a lot going on.
I want to be fair to both sides, and I know I want to be fair to Mr. Prince, but I also got to be fair to the people that have put a lot of money into building nice houses out there. That's my dilemma. right? I don't want to interfere with the pursuit of happiness of Mr. Prince, but I also got to protect the pursuit of happiness of the neighbors. So that's the dilemma that we're dealing with. If we can find a fix for this, maybe
I just think this is also, I'm sorry, just the perfect timing, a perfect storm to bring the opt-out community and the people that have invested in this to kind of figure out. And then we also talk about how we need to do something, because there's obviously, it just comes up and up again. There's an issue that we might be at the prime time to be able to deal with before it gets out of hand.
yeah. What happened was somebody bought all these 160-acre state trust land parcels, and they Julian French fried them into half-acre and then went bankrupt.
Yeah.
And that is creating this problem here.
So the dates we have would be April 22nd or May 6th. So we can
Or if we could make a suggestion, if the board is interested in potentially amending the zoning ordinance, perhaps looking at doing an overlay or something like that, it would need to go to Planning and Zoning Commission first.
Right.
Okay.
We propose doing a work session with them first, then Planning and Zoning. So perhaps the second meeting in July with the board, if you were to table it, would be appropriate.
So then agree to meet with the planning and zoning at their next meeting is perfect. And then we talk and then we discuss later on a work session to deal with this. Okay.
Second meeting in July is what date?
July 22nd.
And what time? See? Yeah, okay. Would you like to hear a
Yes.
motion to table?
Yeah, now let's do a motion to table, and then we'll set it for a work session.
Mr. Chair, I move that we table this agenda item number 6 until July 22nd at 10 a.m. to hear and consider zoning ordinance 25-06 to rezone tax parcels 117-06-063, 064, 066, 067, 074, 075, 076, 077, and 078, District 3, from SR 43, single household residential, one dwelling per 43,000 square feet, to RU4 rural district, one dwelling per 4 acres, pursuant to the application of Paul Prince.
Second.
All right, we have a motion that's seconded. Any discussion?
No, sir.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion to table passes 3-0. We'll take on the next issue. All right, agenda item number 7. Can I get a motion, please?
I move that is that correct? I'm sorry, I move.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
To
I
adopt resolution.
To adopt Resolution 25-04 and zoning ordinance 25-07 to amend comprehensive plan land use and growth area designation of 33 acres out of tax parcel 302-15-001D, District 3, from rural to developing and from Category D, rural areas to Category C, rural community areas, and rezone tax parcels 302-15-001D and 302-15-011, 0.6 acres out of tax parcel 302-15-001H and 2.7 acres out of tax parcel 302-15-013D from RU4 Rural District, one dwelling per 4 acres to General Business District, GB, pursuant to the application of Sunica LLC, Om Prakash.
Second.
Correct?
Second it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Back to Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Supervisors. This is the staff presentation for docket CPA 2501 and RZ 2502. The applicant again is Sunaka LLC, care of Om Prakash. The property is located along the Interstate 10 business loop west of Bowie. Encompasses 2 parcels and portions of 2 other parcels. The amendment is to change land use designations of the comprehensive plan from rural to developing and growth area C. The zoning amendment itself is from RU4 to GB. Existing uses include a convenience store and RV park. Proposed uses include convenience store and RV park will remain in a new truck stop. Property is located in District 3. Again, it's west of Bowie. I'll go through these slides fairly quickly. The comprehensive plan only addresses one parcel, and that's 33 acres out of parcel 001D, which is an 83-acre parcel. The reason for the plan amendment request by the applicant is to rezone the entire parcel GB and not leave it split zoned, where it could be rezoned to GB for a portion, and the remainder would remain rural. And the same with the growth area category. The property is bound by railroad right-of-way to the north, state right-of-way to the south, as well as public land. Property is largely zoned RU4. Again, it encompasses 4 parcels surrounded by R4 zoning. One of the parcels is already zoned GB, and a portion of it was rezoned GB back in 1996. This is a graphic that shows the parcels in question. Again, the 83-acre parcel to the left. There's a 4.4-acre parcel in blue. The green parcel, which is the site of Dwayne's Jerky and Mountain View RV Park, as well as a single-family residence. And then there's a portion of parcel 001H that the applicant has acquired from that property owner to have cross-access between those other 2 parcels.
So he bought an easement or right away?
He bought about 0.6 acres from that parcel to connect those other 2 parcels he owns.
Gotcha.
The applicant has provided a concept plan showing his future plans. Provided some rough sketches of some elevations. And this graphic would show approximate locations based on the applicant's concept plan, showing a location for new fuel pumps, which would go on the existing convenience store and recreational vehicle park property. The applicant also is proposing truck parking and a repair facility to the parcel to the west. At one time, that parcel did have an existing gas station on it. And then the other parcel, which is landlocked by public land and Pacific right-of-way, Southern Pacific right-of-way, the applicant is also proposing some truck parking on that parcel as well. This would be a view to the west, showing the recreational vehicle park in the foreground. Another view to the west, and the area outlined in blue would be the portion subject to the comprehensive plan amendment. The property in the foreground is public land. Another view to the east, the parcel outlined in black is not included. That is owned by a separate owner. Just basic summarizations of some of the plan amendment designations here. Rural, we would expect to see large lot sizes, agricultural uses, and large expanses of public and private land. Developing would be areas where we would expect to see a transitional district, maybe a mix of residential and business with some agricultural uses thrown in. Again, same with the categories. Rural area, again, outlying areas with low growth rates, large lots. Community areas, we would expect to see a little bit more variety of land uses and lot sizes. There are 6 factors within the comprehensive plan to evaluate plan amendments. In this particular case, 3 factors apply, with 2 complying. Factors in favor of the plan amendment include the fact that most of parcel 001D is already designated developing on growth area C by the comp plan. I won't read all of these, but the plan amendment, in terms of factors against, there is a provision that says plan amendment requests should have substantial support from nearby property owners. We've not received any support for the plan amendment itself. We did receive the property owner who was bound, who gave their 0.6 acres to this property owner, is in favor of the application, however. Zoning regulations also identifies 15 rezoning factors, and the majority of those factors are complied with this application. It complies with all applicable factors. Intense business uses are appropriate along major roadways. There will be limited offsite impacts to residential development, as there's no residences in the vicinity except for the applicants. A rezone will legitimize existing non-conforming uses of the property. Staff has not received any opposition. The only factor not in favor would be the concept plan does not include all of tax parcel 001D. The applicant mailed notices to property owners within 1,500 feet on 30 January. and staff followed up with notification, publishing a legal ad, sending notices, and posting the property to between 14 and 19 February. Again, this is the response map showing the one property owner who responded in favor. Based on the factors in favor of approval, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of dockets CPA 25-01 and 25-02 without conditions by a vote of 9-0 during its meeting on March 12th, 2025. Staff also recommends approval of dockets CPA 25-01 and 25-02. Would also like to note that the Planning and Zoning Commission did approve the concurrent special use request for a truck stop by a vote of 9-0 during that meeting also.
9-0 in favor, I'm sorry.
9-0 to approve that special use request. Mr. Chair and board members, that concludes staff's presentation of these two dockets, and we are available for your questions, and the applicant is present.
Any questions for Mr. Taylor?
How about page 12? And you said that part that says not a part is public land, which means it's federal land.
Well, we did receive a mixed comment from the state on that. I'm not really sure if it's state or federal. There is right of way there, but this is public property. I'm not really sure whether it's federal or state.
Okay.
But the applicant is actively working with the state to secure access to that parcel.
Okay. What, page number 19? And that was the one that you talked about, not all of 302.15.001D, and I was wondering if there's a slide that shows what that is. I mean, we on page 21, for instance, there's the slide that has a little check mark. Where's this 1500.01D or 15,001D? Just curious.
Supervisor Crosby, that would be the triangular parcel to the west of that check mark.
Okay, the one we're just talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. No further questions from me, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Gomez? Nope. All right, we're good. Thank you, sir. Now we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? None? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 3-0. All right, let's close the public hearing. The public hearing is now closed. Now we'll go on to action items number 8. Can I get a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move we adopt Resolution 25-02 expressing the Board of Supervisors for proposed legislation requiring that all mail-in ballots be returned by 5 p.m. on the Friday before Election Day to improve election efficiency, transparency, and timely ballot processing.
Second.
All right, we have a motion. We have 2 people that have requested to speak. All right, first up is Allison Morse. Ms. Morse, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, you have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning, Supervisors, and thank you for this opportunity to speak today. My name is Allison Morse, and I'm a registered voter from Portal, speaking in opposition to agenda item number 8. Resolution 25-02 states that, quote, the delay in election results is clearly attributable to the signature verification of early ballots dropped off on Election Day, unquote. If the delay refers to statewide results, please remember that the 2024 ballot was unusually lengthy, consisting of 2 pages to accommodate all 13 propositions, 11 of which were legislative referrals. It is also true that 9 of our 15 counties actually certified earlier in the 2024 election than in the last 3 presidential election years. The delay in Cochise County was additionally attributed to a bomb threat, power outage, machine malfunction, and erroneous zeroing out of the tabulation machine. Remedies were discussed during your February 6th work session, but there was no mention of changing the deadline to return early ballots. The board should know that the Arizona Association of Counties does not support this change. Using the legislature's request to speak, it was one of 365 individuals and organizations to oppose Senate Bill 1001. Only 73 supported it. The Arizona Association of Counties was also one of the 466 that opposed House concurrent resolution 2013, the most likely vehicle to put the measure on the ballot. Only 84 supported it, which is less than 20%. While most voters do appreciate timely results, research shows that Arizona voters overwhelmingly favor access to voting and convenience of voting over the speed of election results. This sentiment is expressed across party lines, including Republicans, Democrats, and independents or non-affiliated voters. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, Arizona law requires up to 10 days post-election to cure provisional ballots, so it is statutorily impossible to have election results sooner. If the board decides to return to precinct voting, there will inevitably be more provisional ballots issued, as voters will inadvertently try to vote at the wrong precinct polling place. All of these issues should be considered before disenfranchising voters by shortening the time frame in which they have to return their ballots. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, next up is Tricia Gerardette. Miss Gerardette, are you there?
Yes.
You have
Yes,
3
I am.
minutes.
Thank you, supervisors. I want to comment that I believe this resolution is in support of, I think it's Senate Bill 1098, but probably also the House bills that Allison Morris referred to. At the state level, I was saddened when the state removed the ability of a good neighbor or a friend, the ability to drop off a completed ballot. I ask you to consider that some people ask for a mail-in ballot and then life happens. You know, they break a leg or break a hip and they are not able to turn it in time, number one, and number two, might not then be able to show up at the polling place on election day to settle it. So rather than continuing to put barriers up for people to participate in the voting process, I think it's equally important to people that the ability to vote be maintained as much as possible, and that's at least as important as getting results quickly. Accurate results and the ability to vote are important. So from the same Pew Research study that was cited in the resolution by the county, nearly all, I'm quoting on page 21, nearly all Harris and Trump supporters, 99% each, say it's at least somewhat important that people who are legally qualified and want to vote are able to cast a ballot. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'm going to just speak for a few minutes. There are several states that currently require, including Florida, which is what that original legislation was based on, that people that request a mail-in ballot, they get a mail-in ballot. What's been happening is they hold that ballot until election day, and then they basically cut in front of the line of everybody waiting in line to go vote on election day. They go inside and they drop their ballot off. And the next process is that the county recorder's office has to take at least 3 days to go through all of those ballots to verify the signatures. It takes a significant amount of time that pushes the time back to when the elections department gets the ballot for tabulation. So that is what the delay is occurring. As popularity increases for people requesting mail-in ballots, they are not mailing them in. They are dropping them off at the polls on election day. So that's what the it's a SCR now that's going to be referred to the ballot is asking to remedy, is this phenomenon of people basically not wanting to wait in line, so they just walk up and they drop their ballot in the box, but it's creating an issue. You get a mail-in ballot. The theory is that you're going to fill it out and then mail it in. That's why it's called a mail-in ballot. It's not called a drop-off at the polls ballot. It's called a mail-in ballot. So it's part of your duty as a citizen. If you're going to request a mail-in ballot, as law allows you currently in Arizona, you should fill that ballot out and mail it in. If you drop it off at the polls, there's two phenomenons that occur. Is one, you're basically cutting the line of everybody that's been diligently waiting to vote on election day, and two, you're creating a pile of ballots that have to be processed in a very short window of time. If you had submitted your ballot to the mail and put it in the mail, it will be received at the county recorder's office in sufficient time to allow those signatures to be verified and to be given to the elections department so those ballots can be tabulated on election day rather than tabulated 3 or 4 days after election day. That's the purpose of the resolution. So, and again, it's been done in other states and it actually works. There's a responsibility for living in a free country. You have to have some degree of personal responsibility. We used to vote all on one day. There was a time when I was a kid, I remember doing that, but now with the mail-in voting, our election lasts a month now. So this is just trying to put some controls, let's just say, to make sure that the process is smooth and efficient and doesn't lend itself to gaming the system by either party.
I'd like to make a comment too. You eloquently put it right. And to those people who say that doesn't happen, I stood online the day of the campaign, election day, and saw 400 people drop off their ballot that was mail-in. And I asked them, I said, what are you doing? They go, oh, we don't have to wait. We can just go in there and drop it off. That's not fair to all those people who are voting on election day. The other issue too, it's 6 weeks you have to mail in. I have a different perspective. My ex was from Yugoslavia, grew up behind the Iron Curtain, where they could not vote. When they could finally, after the Serbian-Croatian War, Croatia became their own country and they could vote, let me tell you, that is so important to them. It's like water and breathing air. We have become so lazy. We have become so lazy as a voting community because we're so entitled. We don't realize how freedom, you have to have a responsibility. You have 6 weeks to vote. That day, on Thursday, the day after the election, there was 9,570 mail-in ballots that still had to be processed. 650 of them had to be cured. That means that somebody has to come in, they have to ask for the signature, they have to make sure it's the right person because the signature was unreadable. That right there delayed the action when you have these provincial ballots by at least 3 or 4 days. I would like to say that the candidates who run and spend their money and their time for this office have a right to have an election that results better than 12 days. Now, with all these, machines and all the mail-in and, we get more and more time and more time, you would think that these results would be verifiable, would be quicker. They're not. So you have a very limited staff in our county that can be able to do this. So having an election results of 12 days later is really something that needs to be looked at. So there has to be some compromise. If you have 6 weeks to mail in your ballot, and you can have a tracking system. There's a tracking system. You can find out where your ballot is. If you are feel that the post office is something that you're not, confident in, then you can come here or I guess you can't have somebody else do it, but you can come and mail it here. This is a secure location. I just don't think it's unreasonable that we are just saying, have your ballot that you have 6 weeks to mail in, have it in by Friday. I'm sorry. I just think that this is something that's a good compromise, that it helps the staff, that it helps the candidates, and it's not an unreasonable request.
Yes. To clarify, you can still bring your ballot to the poll on election day, but you will have to wait in line, and then you will turn that ballot in, and you will get a vote in person ballot. They will spoil your mail-in ballot, and then you will vote in person and feed the ballot into the machine.
And I'm just saying, it was time and time again that I was asking people I know, because they had people outside Douglas, and you can give it to them and then put it in the pouch. And they said, oh, yeah, I forgot. And I knew I can just do it here and I don't have to wait in line. So that's not fair to the people who actually vote on election day.
Mr. Crowder.
Ms. Gomez, points and the chairman's points are well taken. And here, signature verification was referred to as the bottleneck in our county. So I am in favor of more qualified signature verifiers. Many more.
Yep.
We also saw the video of the Maricopa County elections guy clicking on the signature verification as the ballots were flying by. Click, 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 click. So, I mean, there's a sense of urgency that's created by the public to know the outcome. And some election officials will, let's just say, go the extra mile to try to accommodate that desire, but take shortcuts in the process. It's not good for the integrity and the reliability.
No, the longer the process takes to have a result, the less trust you have in the process.
All right. Any other discussion? All right. Having none, there's a motion on the floor to approve the resolution. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 3-0. The resolution will be forwarded to the legislature. Next up is agenda item number 9. Can I get a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve amendment number 1 to the grant agreement with the Legacy Foundation of Southeast Arizona for the Cochise County Mental Health Support Team Project in the amount of $383,056, extending the agreement through June 1st, 2026.
Second.
All right. We have a motion. We have a second discussion. Commander Watkins, you have a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Thank you for having us. If you have any questions, I'm available, but this is a very vital process to our operations, and the services that this team provides is indescribable. I value your time. I could go on, but if you want me to do an official presentation, I'll be happy to do that as well.
Yeah, we got it in the work.
Mr. Watkins was very thorough at our work session last week, and I thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
All right. All right. Any other discussion? With that, the motion's on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Next is item number 10. Can I get a motion, please?
I motion to adopt Resolution 25-05 to approve AZ034 Streamlined 5-Year 2025-2030 and Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plans.
Second.
All right, Ms. Baca, do you have a comment? You've also explained it rather well in the work session, so.
Yes, so for the sake of time, unless you want to go through the slides again, we don't need to, but I did do some follow-up percentages on who we do have leased up in your various jurisdictions, if you'd like to hear those.
Sure.
So in District 1, Supervisor Crosby, 63% are leased up in District 1. District 2, Supervisor Gomez, we have 29% leased up in your district. And Supervisor Antonori, we have 8% leased up in District
Not a lot of rental properties in District 3. So,
Not a whole lot.
so, all right, got it. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's good to know, though. Good to know. But there's a booming industry in Sierra Vista.
That's right, buddy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, by far our highest population in the county.
Sure.
That stands
The
to
density is there too. That's what it really is. So any other discussion, any other questions?
No.
All right. Motion is on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr.
All right. Next, we'll start wrapping this up. State federal legislation. I did not attend the county supervisors meeting on Friday. I think it got canceled because they had a general board meeting. So they didn't go over all the legislation. It's coming down to basically budget discussion time, and there are significant impacts to the county in the budget as they start tinkering with the formulas again to try to come up with different budget line numbers to deal with HERF revenue, to deal with state shared revenue, and things of the like. But the CSA is actually doing a good job to lobby members to let them know the impact to counties when they play with that HERF revenue. Although I'm not happy with the HERF revenue formula. I wish it would be modeled in the opposite direction. And state shared revenue too. We're being penalized by both. But it seems that it's an easy fix to change that, to get more money for the state, to modify the formulas so that the state gets more money. So they're trying to oppose those efforts right now. But we'll see more as the budget goes forward. Other than that, I don't have any other significant, unless somebody else has any that they found. None?
Well,
None? Nope.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Gilman, did you have any that you wanted to mention? No?
No, I don't have any comments today.
All right. Thanks. And then, Mr. Crosby, do you have any significant events?
Fast. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Gomez, do you have any?
Yes, we do. The Douglas Rotary Club is putting on a Trojan Run on April the 12th. It starts at 7 in the morning. All the proceeds are going to go to the Air Museum. I don't know if people understand that in World War II, there was a plane built called the Trojan. There's only 4 of them that are left in the world, and at the Air Museum, we have 1 of them. So all the money that we're going to raise is going to go for upgrades for this Air Museum, which the Air Museum is part of the Douglas, which was once the International Airport, inaugurated by Eleanor Roosevelt, part of the Powder Puff Derby all-female pilot race back in 1932 with Amelia Earhart. This is a significant gem of history that we have in our county, and so we're just trying to make sure that the museum is incredible, and the fact that it's 1 out of 4 that exists, these Trojan airplanes, is really amazing. So we call it the Trojan Run. You run from the park up to D Hill and back, and we raise money. So it is on I believe our website, and anybody who's interested, let me know. It's April the 12th.
All right. I don't have anything from District 3. So with that, the next meeting will be this afternoon. It will be a work session at 1 p.m. here in the hearing room to discuss structured operations and future goals of the Cochise County judicial system. So we'll see everybody at 1. So no other comment. We're adjourned.